So the first thing you should make sure you have is a white piece of paper. The next thing you're going to need is something black to draw with. You can use a black crayon or a black oil pastel or even a black marker. The next tool you need is a ruler or something with a straight edge so you can draw some straight lines. You also should find something to color with. If you have paints, you should grab those. I'm going to use watercolor paints today, or you could have tempera paints or anything else you have at home. All right, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our paper in the portrait position. That means the tall way. So look at the edge of your paper on the left and think about how it would look if you divided it into thirds. So this would be 1/3 of the way down. This is 2/3. So I'm going to put a little mark with my black crayon about 1/3 of the way down the edge of the picture. The next guideline I need to make will be on the other side of the paper, on the right side. I want you to put 3 fingers on the bottom corner of your paper and then put a little line above the 3rd finger. All right, so this is where we're going to draw our first line for our picture. You remember that bridge in the painting called the scream? It's a diagonal line that goes across the whole paper. So I'm going to take my ruler and I am going to connect this line that we made on the left side to the little line we made on the right side. I'm not going to draw it all the way across with black crayon yet though, because I need to erase part of it in a little bit. So I am going to grab a pencil and lightly draw that diagonal line. Later on, I'll go over it with black when I decide what part I need to erase. All right, now the next lines are also going to be part of the bridge. So scoot your ruler down, and I want you, instead of putting it parallel where it would be the same distance apart, I want you to make sure that it goes in a different angle. So this one spot right here is where we're going to aim towards, but down here it's going to be further away. So this is close together, this is further away. I'm just going to draw another light pencil line. Then I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 of those. So we have 2. This is going to be 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to make that into the bridge in a little bit. All right, now I am going to pick up my black crayon for this part. There's a spot back here in the original picture where the river flows in the middle ground. So start over here right above your guideline and make a horizontal black line that doesn't go all the way across, but it goes past the halfway mark. Then it curves back like this. Then it curves back the other way, and then it comes back to the bridge right there. All right, now above that, there is another part of the river, and you start about 1 finger up from what you already drew, and then you're going to go in a very nice curvy line up, down, up again to the very edge of the paper. Then you're going to imagine that that curves around here. It kind of goes off the paper a little bit. So you're going to come back around here and make it curve there. All right. Now, so that'll be the river part, okay? Now we're going to put some lines to make the bridge bottom. The bottom of the bridge goes all the way to the corner. And so some of those lines I'm going to make with black crayon. But most of it I will do with my painting colors. But I'm just going to give myself some guidelines right there. See how they're farther apart here, but they're all pointing to this one spot up here. All right, that's a trick we call perspective drawing in art. All right, now I have to think about what I want to have standing on my bridge. Now this is the part where you can get creative and do your own idea. I think I'm gonna draw something kind of silly standing on my bridge. I think I'm gonna draw a flamingo. So I am going to draw a flamingo right about here where I just put my hand. And that means I need to erase some of these lines right here from the bridge railing. Now I might erase more later, but that's what I'm gonna start with. Okay, so my flamingo is going to have one long skinny leg that's standing on the base of the bridge. But I'm gonna start with the body of my flamingo. So the first line I need to draw is going to be a line that looks kind of like a rainbow or a frown. It's going to be curved like that. Then the bottom part of this comes around the other way and makes a point right there. Now I know a little bit better where I need to erase my bridge lines. There we go. All right, now the neck of my flamingo is kind of like a backwards S. I think I'll start at the top here, and then I'm going to make the part at back of his head, and then the neck, and it's going to attach right there to the body. Now the next part of my flamingo is his big beak. I think I'm going to make it an open beak so it looks like he's screaming. All right, so I'm going to curve this part down, and then back up, and then the bottom part of his beak will be right there. All right, now I'll have to erase the lines inside of that part. All right, then he's gonna need a beady black eye, and then this part of his head, and the neck has to be thicker. It's going to attach back here. So then I'll have to erase those lines. There we go. All right, and then the next part is inside of his body. He's going to have another shape that is his wing. So it just goes like that. Has a few scalloped lines there and connecting. Then his long skinny leg comes right down from the middle of his body, and it needs to have a bony knee, a bulging knee, and then straight down again, and then a triangular shaped webbed foot. Okay. All right, and then he has a second leg that goes diagonally this way, bulges in the back, comes forward, and then his other foot. There. So there is my flamingo. Now, if you remember the painting by Edvard Munch, there were also two figures in the back. So I think I will put a couple of people that will be very not very detailed in the background. So I'm going to put one here, just a kind of a rectangular shape. You can hardly even see any detail. It's hard to tell if there's even arms. I'm sure there are. All right, and then erasing those lines inside of there. And then next to him was another figure. This one looked more like it was wearing a dress. And she was a little shorter. And there. All right. So my two indistinct figures in the background. There we go. Okay, now it's time to use color. So I am going to put my pencil down and I'm going to pick up my paintbrush. So I've got a thicker paintbrush and a thinner paintbrush. I like to use the thicker paintbrush when I'm doing the background. I call it a wash when I do the background. A wash is like when you use a lot of water so that you don't see separate lines of paint, but you just see paint colors blending together. Sometimes I even like to just put water on the background first, so when I put my paint on, it'll start to blend and smear right away. So in the painting by Edvard Munch, it starts off with a sunset in the background. So I'm going to use reds and oranges and yellows to make that sunset. So I'm just going to go ahead and activate the colors in my palette that I want for my sunset. So I've got a darker red and a lighter red and an orange. And I'm not going to be real picky about exactly where those colors go because they all just kind of blend together. All right. So if you're going to paint yours, try that sunset with your paint colors and make sure with your sunset that you're really letting those colors blend together. Now, remember the other thing that was so cool about his painting were the curvy lines that kept repeating in different areas of his work. And so one of the places that you could really see those curvy lines was in the sunset. There was a dark red curvy line right at the base where we had drawn that black line. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to smear it together with some water. Try to make sure that you don't leave any white space when you're doing a painting like this. You want to cover it all with paint, even if it's just a light wash of a paint. I'm going to get those edges too. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. All right, so I just let my painting dry for a little bit, and now I'm gonna go back to it with some oil crayons. If you don't have oil crayons, you can use regular crayons. You might even want to use markers for this part, but I think it would be kind of fun to use oil crayons because that's what Mr. Munch used in his original picture. I'm gonna add some detail into the sky. So right across the sky, I'm going to add some lines that match those awesome curves that he put in his picture. I think it's really great to have a famous work of art where you can tell that it's not just paint that he used, that he also enjoyed using these oil crayons. That looks like I'm about done with my artwork for today. Thanks for creating with me. Bye-bye.